You know, have you ever had that feeling when you walk out of a matinee and you forgot it was daylight? It was that sort of feeling, and I said, that's what I want to capture with my next symphony, with my next record. I didn't know if it was going to be a symphony or not for sure, but I pretty much, I had my heart set on it. Well, the Playroom's a really special place, but most days there's a whole bunch of kids there. We forget about cancer for an hour or two, is what we do, and we have fun. And so I decided to start to make my symphonies as benefits for what's called uncompensated care. Hey, have you ever used MIDI? No, I don't know what MIDI is, because it's how computers and instruments communicate. So here I have celeste and I have my strings. I've always played by ear. It was like a cool trick. I've always been able to go to the piano and express myself. When I had a hard day or a great day or whatever it is, that always felt right to me. I went to the bookstore and bought a book on the orchestra for kids. It allowed me to at least know where to start. The book helped me because it had a lot of pictures. I decided to take a piece of tape across the bottom of my keyboard, which is still there to this day actually, and I wrote cello, cello, viola, viola, violin, violin. So I knew the range of all the instruments. I start with an idea. I just start dreaming up something that might be compelling to me. Human emotions, Christmas, storms, Seattle. It's like a love letter back to Seattle. So this symphony is legacy. It's about, you know, what do we leave behind? But it's not necessarily about what do you want to be remembered for or anything, and then what do you leave behind when you die? It's more like, when you and I finish this conversation, what have you left behind with me, and what have I left behind with you? And I'll start putting down ideas on piano, and I'll just start playing what I feel, and it's just a piano sketch, but then what happens is that just starts evolving. Those are all tremolo strings.
Most of the orchestral colors that Matt wants are there. I'm orchestrating and making sure that his orchestral sound, the way it's balanced in the computer, is going to read the same way with an acoustic orchestra, and everything is balanced in between sections. That's my main focus.
I'll work with my computers, so I'll have my keyboard hooked up, and then what I'll do is I'll have a sample of what sounds like a violin. So I'll have a violin sound, a viola sound, cello sound, contrabass sound. You know, I'll just go through all these different instruments, and I'll have them in my palette, basically. So just like a painter has a palette, I have a palette of all these instruments. And then what I'll do is I'll start writing with that instrument, so I can hear what that instrument sounds like. I'm playing a piano, but I'm hearing a contrabass playing. And I may have had it in my head, but now I have it on the keys as well, and I can audibly hear that. I don't write 200 minutes of music and whittle it down to 50 minutes of music or an hour of music. Sometimes in film I have to do that. But with a symphony, I write everything that I feel. And I'll go, you know what? That's what I was feeling when I wrote this, so that's what it should be in this symphony. Pieces take shape as I'm building them, without a doubt. I'll have an idea in my head of this is what I want to talk about subject-wise, and musically this is what I want to convey. But as far as the process goes, it happens very organically. Technology allows me to, it's a tool for me to communicate. I wouldn't be able to write a symphony without it. I really believe that.
That maybe the fact that he doesn't work out music in the way that I do, you know, will block some part of the creative process of the way he looks at music. He could easily describe with words what he wants in the music, and I don't know if all us classically trained musicians can actually do that. I think a non-musical description of what he wants me to do with certain phrase or certain orchestration, I think it's probably more appropriate in this case.
I'm able to trust Arturo even after hearing the first 1 or 2 orchestrations. I was like, he gets it. Like, he knows what I'm trying to say, and he helps me say that. And there are things that he's doing that some of the things I'm not really aware of, particularly like bowings. You know, I have an idea, but really, he's doing things that's just going to make it that much better, and that's where he brings in his talent. But here it's like there's an idea, and now, like, it's real fantasy-like, and it's moving around, and you can just, it's all this anticipation, and there's this excitement, dun, 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 and it's playful, and it's delightful. And I call this one Sprites Among Us, because I want to have dancers coming from behind, from all sorts of places in these shadows, and coming out in front, and it'd be great, like, when you hear it with a full orchestra, acoustically, oh, that's beautiful. I approach this in a really unconventional way, but it works for me, and it works for the people I communicate with. And what I think too is, I think the orchestra, at least the one I've been working with for the past 5 years, really enjoys this concert as well, because we're raising a lot of money for the hospital. When I'm in the playroom, I meet these same families that are receiving this money from this fund. Now, I don't know which ones they are, I don't want to know, but I know a lot of them do. So I think it's important that we have something in our lives that we can dedicate ourselves to. You know, to volunteer is a great source of happiness. I'd love for somebody in the audience to kind of go, wow, I guess I could do that too. I don't want people to think it's this big mystery. How do you write a symphony? You know, it's like, well, if you have a good ear and you get yourself a keyboard and a computer and an idea, maybe you could write one too. It's like a little thing like that. Suck it back in and go right where we started. So it's like we got to just go on a really big ride.